Thank you so much, Ritu, for the introduction and for the invitation to participate today. We are at the very southern edge of my 15th congressional district, which runs from the southeastern portion of San Francisco down the Bayside through East Palo Alto to the edge of Atherton. And I am blown away by this event. I wish we could replicate this in all of the communities across my congressional district. Honored to be with all of you today. I was just asked to say a few words about my journey in civic participation and a little bit about the importance of voting. It is wonderful to be here today to talk about civic engagement, especially when we are facing such a consequential election. I do want to thank the organizers of the event today, Menlo School, and of course, Nostera and all of the young people that have joined us here on this beautiful Saturday. So my civic engagement journey started very early. My father was a civics teacher at South San Francisco High School for 33 years. We had some spirited conversations. My mom was a Republican. My dad was an active Democrat. So we had some interesting kitchen table conversations about politics. I learned early about the importance of participating in the process. I studied communications at University of San Francisco, wanted to be a journalist, a TV reporter, had a little mobile music company. I actually used to be a mobile DJ under the nickname Cutmaster Kevy Kev. That is an accurate biographical fact. But my mentor, Jackie Spear, my predecessor in Congress, I met her at a Democratic Party convention in Sacramento and told her that I grew up in South San Francisco, and at the time I was working in the East Bay as a field representative for a state assembly member. She said, "You need to come work for me if you've got South City in your DNA." So I worked for her, went to serve on a city council, was a mayor of South San Francisco, ran a small business up there, a small communications firm, and was elected to the California State Assembly in 2012 and served 10 years in Sacramento, where my party, I'm a Democrat, we had a supermajority, a two-thirds supermajority, a totally different world in Washington, D.C., and served as a Speaker Pro Tem, the #2 officer there, and the longest-serving Speaker Pro Tem of the modern era, and it was a wonderful opportunity, and I could drive home every night to South San Francisco. But civic engagement and good government were definitely priorities of mine in Sacramento. Proud to author several bills expanding voting rights. You should be proud of the work that is being done here in San Mateo County on opening up the elections process. We had a pilot project, an all-mail ballot pilot in San Mateo County in 2015, and we proved that the model worked, that youth turnout went up, Latino turnout went up, African-American turnout went up, and we proved that pilot. That became a model for the state. And then now there's a national movement, really, on voting by mail. But much of that started right here in your county. So be proud of your county. We in Sacramento also expanded the list of documents to validate vote by mail signatures. I'm getting in the weeds a little bit here, but it's an important part of opening up the process. We extended the time allowed to secure valid signatures on unsigned ballots. Sometimes people send their ballots back without a signature. And for the young people here, sometimes young people haven't formed the signature that they will use for the rest of their life, and it's hard to match the signature from your voter registration card to the way you sign your ballot. So just something to keep in mind. We want to make sure that your votes count. We in California made public facilities open as vote centers, and we did a lot of reforms. I was proud to author the Disclose Act, so you can see who's funding elections. If you watch TV ads, and you're going to get inundated with television and digital ads, look to the bottom. It'll show you who's actually funding, not some phony name, but who the actual funders are behind those ads. That's work we did in California. One sort of a highlight that became a low light, we finally got something to the ballot which allowed 17-year-olds to vote in primary elections if they'd be 18 by the general election. But that's a constitutional amendment that went to the voters, and the voters turned it down. And that's what happens with a constitutional amendment sometimes. So that was unfortunate, but we got it closer than ever before. and we learned a lot from that election, and at some point, I think we'll be able to get that done here in the state. But California, despite that one negative, has been a real leader. So be proud of your state. We have done a lot to make it easier to vote. Other states, unfortunately, are trying to make it harder. Other states across this country are putting barriers up to participating in our democracy. So democracy is fragile, okay? It is under threat in states across the country. There are folks who deny the results of the election if they don't like the results of that election. There's a lot of misinformation out there. It's getting harder to get factual information, especially in the social media context. So in Congress, we have something called the Task Force on Strengthening Democracy. We're trying to replicate at the national level what we've done here in California when it comes to voting. We are monitoring extremists' attempts to gut voting rights and make it harder for people to engage in the political process. We support the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act to restore key provisions in the Voting Rights Act that were gutted by a hostile Supreme Court. And I'm also proud to have co-sponsored a bill to overturn the destructive Supreme Court ruling in Citizens United so we can better regulate political contributions and prevent so-called dark money from interfering and influencing our elections. So that is an ongoing fight, and we hope that young people will see the value in that. So just a quick word on exercising your right to vote. Here in California, you can pre-register to vote if you are 16 or 17 through the Secretary of State's website. So you pre-register, and then when you turn 18, you are immediately eligible to be voting. I hope you are an active participant in the political process. It gives you a voice in local, state, and federal government. And please, please, never take for granted that the American experiment is about us choosing our leaders. Don't take that for granted. We choose our leaders, and we have to keep it that way in this country. So even if your preferred candidate isn't successful, your vote always counts. And I am thrilled that today's event is family-oriented and intergenerational. There are whole families here. We need adults to empower young people to find their voice and get engaged in public service. Empowering people to vote is important because when you vote, you are part of a larger voice. Your vote is your voice and your power. I hope that you use it. So get involved in local organizations and causes you care about. Many are ready. Look at all the tables assembled out here and the young people that are engaged with these different organizations. Look for internships. My office offers those. These are great ways to learn about the political process and about government. And my hope is that young people will be empowered to get engaged in the civic process and stay engaged. And if you'll indulge me, I had an opportunity to take a quick look at a op-ed written by a Gen Z person. It says, "Why Gen Z Needs to Tune In Beyond the Memes." And it was written by Janine Chang. She's a senior at Burlingame High School. And I just want to read one passage that struck me. Janine writes, "In a world that increasingly values the quick hit of dopamine from a like or a share on social media, what happens to our commitment to the slow, deliberative work of being informed citizens? Democracy isn't about casting a vote during Election Day. We must engage with the complex, often uncomfortable truths of our society that requires more than just scrolling through social media. As young people, we," Janine writes, we're poised to inherit a world that needs thoughtful, informed leadership more than ever before." Thank you, Janine, for that. And I think that's the spirit with which we have gathered here today. So when you look throughout the history of our country, whether it was the civil rights movement, the free speech movement, or helping elect our country's first African-American president, it has been young people. It has been young people that have been the drivers of change. So I want you all to be that change. I want you to vote in November, and I want you to stay engaged beyond Election Day because we are going to be counting on you. It's an honor to be with all of you. Thank you for the groups assembled who put this on. I hope we can make this a regular, not just during presidential year's event, and so proud to represent many of you here today, and hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you all very much.